So rest is something our culture tremendously underdoes. And historically, I myself have underdone it as well, I would say, and had fairly big consequences for that. On EFC, it's something that I see students often don't do well. And the ones that do rest well just get so much more from the course. So the question is always like, why do we rest? It's kind of a crazy question in some ways, but I actually think it's worth looking at a little bit. So there's different motivations for this. One is simply happiness. If people don't rest, they're miserable. Another one would be actually be productivity. Like I see people that don't rest just get less and less productive in whatever they're doing, including on EFC, and sustainability. So you can keep doing something. But there's just an inhumanity to it, I would say, as well, that we shouldn't blame ourselves. We come from a system which is all about being productive and pushing ourselves hard, like cogs in a machine. It's a disembodied perspective, something very human, very animal, very embodied, actually, about the rest. It's part of our cycles. So if we go back to that cycles model that we work with on the course in different ways, rest, the not doing, is an essential part of the cycle. And you'll see that people who underdo this either won't rest before or after a module, for example. I'm always slightly horrified when I hear people have got like a public-facing work day the next day, and I go, maybe have a day off after each module, at least one day. Or you'll see people that don't rest in the evenings of the modules, for example. So rest really is a critical thing. And in terms of embodiment, people quickly are not feeling if they're not resting. So I just had quite a nice lunch break between filming, and had a bit of food, had a bit of chat, a little quick walk outside, and I'm coming back feeling like, okay, more in my body, more in my values as a result, more able to self-regulate, etc., etc. So, I can teach someone centering, just as an example, but if they were just badly not rested, they're just going to be in an adrenal fatigue state, and they're going to get in bad moods, and they're going to find it hard to self-regulate. Whereas if they're rested, A, they'll notice more when they need it, and B, they'll be able to apply it a lot more. So that's just one example. When it comes to leadership, no one trusts someone who's completely exhausted. I would say it's very difficult to trust someone that can barely stand up. And I just see this is so endemic in the world today that we're going a little bit countercultural. So, when you do rest week, for example, that paradoxically is a kind of intense practice for some. And I'd say it's definitely the thing to take seriously. There's kind of two ways we encourage rest on EFC. One is we model it, we show it, we encourage it. We say to people, hey, if you want to take a session out, take a session out. That's one way. And the other way we do it is almost the opposite. The other way is we actually, on intensives, push people pretty hard, and it's all through choice. But if you've got that habit of, say, got to do everything, got to get everything, scarcity, acquisitive pattern, big in Russia, if you have that pattern of sort of missing out or something like that, then you will just hit a wall. The modules are pretty long, pretty tiring, long days. And there's a way in which we can almost force people into acknowledging rest as a thing, which, yeah, sometimes it's a little full on. But it's one of the methods we use. But the other way, as I said, you can kind of learn the easy way or the hard way, I say, on EFC. The easy way is to kind of take our advice, to look at it being modeled, and to acknowledge that for you it may be a pattern, it may be something that I've definitely seen people like learn it as a life habit and take self-care, which is obviously related to rest, take self-care very, very seriously as a result of doing EFC. And they realize they've got these patterns of abuse. We have this self-care pose in EYP that we use. And one of the coaching questions in this pose is, how do you self-abuse? That might be a useful inquiry for you if you're someone that doesn't rest. Like, how is that a pattern of not feeling certain emotions, or punishing yourself, or self-abusing, or being caught in one of these have tos, like have to be the best, have to work hard, have to get everything, can't miss something. Have tos and can'ts are the tyrannies, right? So they're things to watch out for. Otherwise, why would rest be difficult? Or can you be in Italians, they have this saying in Italian, the pleasure of doing nothing, the sweetness of rest. There's a few people that maybe are over resting or addicted to rest, or kind of using it as an excuse not to do things, but mostly we see the pattern in the culture is the other way. So rest, critical, to be taken seriously, and actually a key part of EFC.